disappeared. Howl-O-Scream is back at Busch Gardens with more new scares than ever. Now save up to $64 per person with a 4-pack deal. Howl-O-Scream at Busch Gardens, Tampa Bay.
All right, everybody, it's 8 o'clock on Tuesday, so you know what time it is. It's time for HauntScene Radio Live. And joining me, as always, is the talented, beautiful, cosplaying, makeup-wearing Kira. How are you doing this week?
I'm doing pretty well, just a little tired, but, you know, it's one of those. Tonight I'm kind of wearing the makeup test I did for one cosplay and part of the top for another one I've been working on.
Yeah, hey, you know, when I cosplay, when I put my makeup on, I just hate mixing and matching. It just doesn't work with, you know, my pale ginger face. So this last weekend, I was able to go out and do Howl-O-Scream. Unfortunately, Kira was unable to attend because she's out of town.
Yep, I'm actually currently in Huntsville, Alabama, which is my hometown.
Yeah, what kind of haunt stuff they have going on in Huntsville, Alabama?
Well, right now there's nothing here since it's in the quote-unquote non-theme park area. They don't really start any sort of haunt stuff until October. So it's mostly, I've actually been seeing some of the leaves fall, so they've been having just fall, but yet it's still warm.
Leaves fall? What's that?
I know, right? I was just sitting on the couch with Draco, and I look outside, and I see this leaf fall, and I'm like, wait, I haven't seen that in a while.
It's crazy. Where are all the palm trees?
Right.
So, do they officially change the name of the town to Hauntsville for October?
No, they don't. It's still Huntsville. They don't really
missed opportunity.
Well, yes and no. I mean, if you think about it, the Huntsville, Alabama, actually, they've already had a name change once in their life, because before they were known as Huntsville, Alabama, they were also Twickenham. You know, little fun fact.
That was a good change, but they could even take it a step further.
No, unfortunately, in other places other than the Orlando area, Halloween is your typical just one night a year. Occasionally, they do stuff on the weekends.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Ugh. Can't even. You mean Halloween doesn't last 2 months?
No,
what kind of place
not
is
at all.
that? All right.
It's everywhere else in the world.
Cool. All right, so I was able to go to Howl-O-Scream this last weekend. I went solo because you know, and everybody go with. And funny story about that. I'm in the car. The Howl-O-Scream is at Busch Gardens in Tampa, and it's roughly about an hour, better part of an hour for where I live here. And the main freeway here in Central Florida is the I-4 expressway. So I took that west, and I'm getting off the exit to get into the area. It's about 10 minutes from the freeway, and it starts raining like crazy, like pouring like cats and dogs. And last year when we went to the Howl-O-Scream, the first time around it rained. We had a little miscommunication with like the Fright Feast and checking in. It got delayed, and it was just kind of a mess. And I'm having like panic attack. I'm like, oh my God, I hope this doesn't happen again. So I pull into a Publix, and I'm like, I gotta buy a poncho. So I've never ever been in a Publix and asked somebody where something was and had them not know where it was. But this person at Publix, I'm like, hey, where are your ponchos? And he's just like, I don't know. I asked the front desk. I'm like, okay. And as I walk to the front desk, they're right by the door. So I grab a poncho, get in line. It takes forever. And I'm already running late because I had to be there at a certain time because I did the early entry with the Fright Feast, which we'll talk about here in a moment. So, needless to say, takes forever. But I buy my poncho and I walk out the store, and it's bone dry. Just like in Florida all the time, it's like completely bone dry. And I'm like, Rrr. So get my car, go down the street, last few minutes, get into the park. You know, everything is just taking forever. It's not really taking forever, but I feel like I'm running late, so it feels like everything's taking forever. Mm-hmm. And I go, unlike last year, I actually go in the right line. I get the right wristband to get into the park, which was great, because it was a disaster last year, which was my fault. And I go in and I check in for the Fright Feast. Now the Fright Feast it's like the best deal in haunts if you're gonna do theme park stuff. It's I think it was $25. You get dinner, you get to watch their show. They have a comedy show called Fiends, pretty funny. They have dinner. It's kind of like think of it like cafeteria food. It's pretty good. And they also give you early entry into the houses. And you get express for an hour or an hour and a half after that. So it's like a sprint. So it's really, really neat. All right. So I got people texting me. So I'm running a little bit late, so I kind of get in the back of the line, and by the time I'm like up in the line, grabbing some grub, the show started, and I don't really know what happened, but about like 5 minutes into the show just stopped. And everybody's looking at each other, like the characters looking at each other, and they made an announcement that the show had been delayed. And they said it would be delayed like 5 minutes. And, it's an election year, so, the main characters, the Igor, Dr. Freakenstein, or whatever it is, they're like trying to be elected president of Freakenstein University. Or I could probably be having that wrong, I'm sorry. But, like, I don't know if the show just, like, missed 10 minutes, because it picked up, like, not necessarily where it left off, but it just kind of picked up, like, 10 minutes later. I'm like, oh, okay. So I thought that was kind of weird, because it seemed like a lot of those characters initially were a little confused. And so watch the rest of the show, and then I'm out the door right as the thing is ending, because that's kind of how you have to do the Fright Feast, is right when that thing ends, you go. And the first house you have to do, so if you're watching at home and you haven't been to Howl-O-Scream, you have to do the zombie containment unit house, because they don't allow you to use an express pass for that house, but they do allow you to do the early entry. So you got to get that one right out of the way. And the Fright Feast is the very back of the park, and the zombie containment unit, the laser tag with zombies, is it's right at the front of the park, so you got to move it. So of course I take one step outside of the little theater area where they have the dinner and the Fright Feast, and then guess what happens?
It starts raining. It
starts raining like crazy. And I'm like, I had actually, I took my poncho and I put it in my camera bag, and I had a moment where I'm like, if I don't keep this poncho on me, it's going to rain. But if I take it with me, it's not going to rain. And I had this like self-aware moment, but still it decided to rain like crazy. So put my poncho on, and I moved to the front of the park, get to the first house, can't get in, because it's like code purple, which is like the code that they have for thunder strikes or something like that. So
oh no,
I'm like, come on, and I'm having flashbacks. And last year, when I did go during the preview weekend, and we had some issues with that. I was like, I'm not going to do the preview weekend anymore. I'm just going to let them work everything out and then not go, because maybe it's just I'm a magnet for things going wrong. And I'm sitting there. I'm like, oh my god. I'm like, it's gonna be the same thing all over again. And these things can't be helped. You can't help the weather. It's Florida. So about 5 minutes of me kind of sitting there freaking out a little bit. I'm like, should I get in the line for another house? Should I just skip this one? I want to do everything this year. And I decided to stick around. And about 5 minutes later, they let us into the house. So I have a little slideshow of just the houses and some of the pictures I took here. So we're going to move over to this one a little bit. And here are the dates of the event. So it started last weekend, and it goes until the 30th. So Sunday the 30th of October is going to be it. It's pretty cost effective. If you do go, I recommend to get that Fright Feast. It's a really, really good deal. They do offer tours. They offer Express Pass. They offer all kinds of stuff. The information's on Howl-O-Scream.com. Just make sure you look at the one in Busch Gardens, Tampa. So here are the dates here. And let's see. So I went through the Fright Feast. Probably should have put this up a little bit earlier. Let me move that over a little bit. And you have to get this. I cannot stress this enough. If you're going to Howl-O-Scream, get the Fright Feast. It's an awesome, awesome deal.
Now, what type of food did they have at the Fright Feast?
Yeah, like I said, it's like cafeteria food. If you remember when I went to public schools, so they give you chicken nuggets and macaroni and cheese and salad and rolls and potatoes and it's just kind of like it's just mass produced kind of cafeteria food. It's not bad. And then you've got your sodas, and they have desserts and everything. And I was kind of out the door. Probably should have grabbed some of that pumpkin cake or pie or whatever it was. But yeah, it was. It's good. I mean, you have to think, if you eat in the park at any of the theme parks, it's going to be pretty expensive. So
Right.
you get the food, you get the show, you get the early entry, you get the express. I mean, it really, really creates a lot of value. One thing you do want to be aware of is if you do go to Busch Gardens for Howl-O-Scream, the parking is $20. The park, you get on the tram, you go into the park. Pretty standard for theme parks these days. I get in, to like Halloween Horror Nights for free because, I'm an annual pass holder, and that really kind of pays for itself when you think that people just going to the event have to pay, $20 to park, or it's like $5 after 10 p.m. or 8 p.m. or whatever it is. I don't really pay attention to it because it doesn't really affect me.
Same here.
Yeah. It doesn't really affect us, so let other people figure that out. So I moved myself from the Fright Feast, which has the show Fiends. Fiends has the, it's like classic monsters dancing to kind of 80s music. They got weird science and all that. The show itself is usually in the same format, and they use a lot of the same music over and over again. But usually the topic or the theme of the show is a little different. But it's pretty neat. So here are the main characters, which they tend to swap out every year. They're also the nurses.
I hear that the nurses are kind of a staple when it comes to Howl-O-Scream.
They are. And they have like little bat demon chicks going around. They've got your hunky men and all these, whatever, and dancing and all that stuff. So yeah, it's fun. It's a fun show. Igor is always the highlight because he's just like a complete perv, which is hilarious. And then after the show, and I did this the first year I went, they have an opportunity where you can go and take photos with the nurses and the characters. They're all like super cool about it. That's one thing that's a little different with Howl-O-Scream, is it's like photo ops galore, and they have like hashtag selfiends, like the show Selfiends, and you can go in and post that stuff online, which is really, really cool. When I went to put one of the pictures I took up on Instagram this week, I hashtagged, selfies. Probably shouldn't have, but that's okay. Everybody who did the show can see my creepy teddy bear, which we'll get to in a bit. So, if you do the Fright Feast, this is included, so you don't have to do it later. But there are probably I think 3 or 4 shows throughout the night. You have to hit it. It's really, really fun. It's a good time. There's a bar right there if you're drinking. Okay, so back to the houses. So I moved to the first one, Zombie Containment Unit. It's been around for a few years. One thing about Howl-O-Scream is they do take some of the popular houses and I don't want to use the term recycle, but they usually use them again. And they tweak it every year, so it's not the same experience over and over again. They do tend to tweak it a little bit. I was in a poncho, soaked, and I was just kind of in a hurry with Zombie Containment Unit. They give you a laser tag gun with a strap that you put around your head, and you walk around and you shoot the characters in the house that have these little sensors on their chest. So they're coming at you, and then if you shoot them in the chest, they have to freeze. So you're kind of fighting your way through the house. Being that I've already done this a couple times, a couple years in a row, it's not really new to me. But I can see somebody that's never gone to the event it being a lot of fun. I mean, I'm all about laser tag and shooting zombies and all that stuff. I do want to do the zombie thing in Orlando. I don't know what it's called, but the zombie whatever it is. So maybe we'll work that in at some point. But it's fun. You have to do this one first, once again, because they don't allow you to express it. So you're going to be waiting in line with all the other mortals, and they allow you to go through with the early entry. So get this one out of the way.
So you're talking about the zombie outbreak in Orlando?
Yeah, thanks for Googling that.
You're welcome.
So if you've done Zombie Outbreak, let me know how it is. Tweet us. At HauntScene Radio, or
makes you almost want to go Walking Dead style or Resident Evil style. That's just what I think.
Yeah, so it's this one, it's fun. It's fun the first time you do it. After that, maybe a little repetitive. I can't say that nothing popped out at me as being different from the previous year. Still fun, but I'm sure they tweaked it a little bit. It's in the same location as last year. So they've moved locations for it before as well. So maybe they might bring this one back. It's insanely popular though. This one gets a pretty big line as the night goes on. So move out of zombie containment unit, and then you start going. It's like, boom, the clock starts. So they had a lot of really good props in the outside of the park this year. Like they've got this van that hit a zombie and it's got blood and handprints all over it outside the zombie containment unit. Good photo op. But at this point it was raining like crazy, and you can actually see the rain in the picture. So I was just kind of moving and taking pictures really quick. Or maybe I took this one later. I don't remember. It was still raining like all night. So, neat. In this area, zombies, good stuff. Moving on to the next one, which is going to be the Deathwater Bayou House. Also has been around in the event for a couple years. It's the Voodoo House, like, New Orleans voodoo. Very, very cool. Good time, pretty creepy if you're not into that. My favorite, I had a couple kind of favorite scenes in the house. Not to spoil it too much because there's a lot to see in the house. But you do walk through like a New Orleans style funeral, which is like a parade, which is pretty neat. I did notice in that scene, they on one of the tombs they had Lepre for Robbie Parsons Lepre, who's one of the creative team over there. Robbie, if you're watching, hello. She unfortunately wasn't able to be at the event. She works for Howl-O-Scream, but she's recovering from surgery. So thoughts and love for you if you're watching. And I'll probably end up doing the event again, so maybe we can catch up. But yeah, her last name is actually on one of the tombs. I never noticed that before, and I'm sure it's been there forever. Yeah, and they've got like little Easter eggs, so it's pretty sweet. They have this one room. Probably my other favorite part about this is they have a room that's all voodoo dolls. And there are a couple things that like aesthetically please me. One is like Day of the Dead stuff, and then I'm not like into voodoo or anything, but I love like the look of voodoo dolls. So it's like a room of it's like a factory of voodoo dolls. It's really, really cool. So it's pretty neat. This house is scary. It just is. There are things jumping out at you like on bungee cords and junk. Like it's just, if you've never been to the event before, Howl-O-Scream is a little bit more intense than like let's say Halloween Horror Nights, at least in my opinion. I think that they try a little bit harder. They're a little bit more aggressive. So good job, characters. And then we'll kind of talk a little bit later about the people on the streets, the characters that are on the streets.
So can they touch you in the houses or not?
No.
Okay.
No touching in the houses. Now, one thing I did notice in this house, because I was still in this early entry phase, was, I walked in the house and everybody was pretty spread out. But when I got to the next house, which is Unearthed, I noticed something. Now, this is like the main theme for last year, the Unearthed house, and it was called Scarlet's Revenge. And this is built into the old Gwazi roller coaster, so the queue's actually walking into the...
Sorry, I just had a moment right there.
I never had an emotional attachment to Gwazi, but apparently you did.
I did, because, back in high school, I actually came down there for a band trip, so I just have fun memories of the Gwazi coaster.
So, does that story begin this one time at band camp?
Actually, no, it'd be more like this one time on a competition trip.
No.
Yeah.
So this was my favorite house from last year. Now, one thing I noticed in this house, I noticed a little bit, is they actually stopped the line at one point, and they let the queue clear, like for the final ramp going into the house, and they actually pulsed the line. And it was like, what? We're not conga lining this? Like normally they just put all the people through the house as fast as possible. And I noticed for the first time in this house that they actually were pulsing the houses a little bit. I don't know if they're going to continue to do that if it was super busy. But yeah, they actually let a smaller group go through and then cleared, and then the smaller groups. That's pretty neat because, we don't ever get to see that anymore. And
No.
So... a couple differences here. This was the main theme from last year, Unearthed. They had a character named Scarlet, which is like this demon witch chick, had the horns and all that. And she was in the house last year. Did not see her in the house this year. So it's the house, but without that character. Sorry if I'm spoiling this for anybody. But it's still, this house is amazing. It like I said last year on the show, pound for pound, this is one of my favorite houses that exists. It's just great. As you're walking down, it actually feels like you're walking underground, and the sound effects and the lighting, and it's scary and it's creepy as hell. So I really, really liked Unearthed. Not my favorite house this year because something new kind of took its place, but Unearthed was solid again. So must do. Okay. Okay, and then we come to one of the new houses, which was Motel Hell, or Motel Shelburne, and then Motel Hell in there. This replaced the basement from last year. This particular house had how do I describe this house? It's like a classic 50s or 60s motel that's just gone wrong. I believe the villain or the main evil entity is called the Sandman, and it goes through it and it shows a bunch of people dead or whatever, but it looks like I don't know if he's attacking them with phobias or their nightmares or something like that. You see people are turning into sand.
Well, it looks like, according to the website, it's where guests who dare to enter will find themselves face to face with their worst nightmares and inescapable fate. So it sounds like to me that it's almost similar to, it sounds like a whole Freddy Krueger deal where you're going into the dream and that's where they're doing their worst nightmares, and they wake up and hey, their worst nightmares are actually true.
Oh, okay. Probably should have read up on this a little bit. But there's one thing that I noticed about this house. This is one of the 2 new houses this year. This house is not, it's like the opposite of claustrophobic. Everything, almost every room you walk into, it's open. And it's really cool. It's like a different sensation, because normally they're trying to close you in to kind of scare you that way a little bit. You walk into a room and it's not wide open, but there's a lot of space there. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but it was a welcome. It was just a different kind of gear for a house. Other than that, pretty neat house. Definitely solid. It's good. So after I get out of this one, I have a choice to make. And the choice that I have is, do I actually want to do Circus of Superstition again? It has been around for a few years, and it says on the sign The Last Laugh, but it was The Last Laugh last year, so it's The Last Laugh Part 2. And as I described, this house previously, it's kind of like an evil Dr. Seuss book of phobias that you walk through. So, when I went with Courtney last year, she's not really good with frogs, and there's a frog room, and she just turned around and booked the other way. So I guess if you get into something with if you have a phobia that really gets you, this might get you. I did it just to do it. I think I've gotten to the point of where I enjoy all the 3D houses, because they actually give you a pair of 3D glasses for this one.
Yeah, that's what I was about to ask. Was it in 3D? Because to me, it just sounds like that this type of house would be better in 3D.
It is. I just tend to, I think personally, I tend to enjoy the 3D houses more without the glasses on, because I like to look at the design of everything. But it was neat. I like the outside. The outside's really cool looking. One thing I did not notice previously is they have you're walking to a big circus tent, and there's all these vinyl flaps that come down that you have to kind of push your way through to get in there when you go from room to room. And they actually had these guys in suits and like skin suits that were half one color and half another color. So if they were standing in the right place, they would be camouflaged. And one got me really good at the end of the house. So that was pretty neat. So good on you, the guy that was in black and white, whoever you are. So that was pretty solid. But I if they replace this one next year, I wouldn't be sad.
Now, did it exit out into where there were clowns everywhere?
Yeah, well, there's chainsaw clowns.
Okay.
So, yeah, there are clowns in here. I think that's colophobia or something like that, or, yeah. Oh, speaking of which, somebody in Cassadaga, Florida, I did contact DJ. He's doing a haunt in Cassadaga at the Cassadaga Hotel, which apparently is legitimately haunted, and it's like a colophobia clown thing. So he was telling me about it a little bit. I don't want to go too in detail with it, because I think he's still kind of getting his website up and running. But look for that. If I have more information, we'll pass it along to you. But a very nice guy. I got to talk to him on the phone. All right, so moving on. Last laugh. We'll see you around, I guess. There's always room for creepy clowns with chainsaws. It's like Jello, right? It's like Jello for haunt fans. There's always room. And then we come to I'm gonna go ahead and say my new favorite house, which is the new one, the Black Spot. It took me a moment to kind of realize why I liked this house so much. One, Howl-O-Scream does this thing where they make a new house and you can vote on like the name of things. Like a couple years ago when they did Deadfall, they let you vote on the name of it. I think it was like Hemlock Hall or something like that. And
that's interesting.
Yeah, it's really cool. Like the actual fans can go in and customize, the name of something. And the ship in the Black Spot is the one I voted for, coincidentally, the Devil's Bride, and they had a couple other options, but that's the one that they chose. And this is the one that replaced Deadfall last year. And I was happy there was a new house, but I actually have a really soft spot for Deadfall for one reason. There's one scene in the house, a creepy playground moving by itself that's really quiet that I loved. But we'll come back to that in a moment. So the Black Spot. How do I describe the Black Spot? It's gorgeous. First of all, it's beautiful. I mean, the design is great, but what it is. Let me paint a scenario for you because I know you go to Disney every once in a while. Mm-hmm. Imagine an evil Pirates of the Caribbean. Okay.
Okay.
Ready? That they let you get out of the boat and walk around. Okay. And it is your perpetual hell for the rest of your life. That is what the Black Spot is. It is a perpetual hell of being on Pirates of the Caribbean, off the boats, walking around forever.
Well, you do know the story behind the Black Spot. So that's what I think of when I hear this. It's the fact that you're giving like this card that has the Black Spot, and that's pronouncing like a verdict of like guilt or judgment.
Well, that's the story of the house. Like, if you look up, the pirate legends of Black Spot and all this stuff, and they cover this in, like, if you watch Black Sails and, all this stuff. But the Black Spot, you're basically, like, marked for death. And you walk through, and I mean, they've got, like, evil mermaids, they got all this netting, and I don't know if this was intentional or not, but they got all these, like, cave walls, and you look at them with the lighting and everything. I don't know if it's intentional, but there's, like, faces and stuff looking at me, or maybe I was just scared. I don't know. But you get into one room, and I don't want to like spoil it too much, but there's like the treasure room, and the first thing I see in the treasure room when I walk in on the left, and of course I don't have it here, but it's a severed arm with a fake iWatch on it, or Apple Watch on it. So, like, they're taking these people that are going through the house, and they're, like, killing them. And I noticed that that particular room has, like, all these, like, severed hands, and, like, these treasure chests, and all this treasure, and, they've got watches on, like, modern watches and all this stuff like that. And I thought that was a really interesting spin on the story and the design of the house. But it's a worthy successor to Deadfall. So I loved this house. I thought it was really neat. I thought it was really cool. I'm into pirate stuff. Like, I love Black Sails. I love evil pirate lore and all that stuff. So this was that's all I got. So this is a must do. I love you, Unearthed, but I really liked the design of the Black Spot. So good on you guys. So neat. Very cool. Kevin Cleveland, if you happen to be watching this house, I sent him a message. He's a character that actually is in the house, and I sent him a message on Facebook, and he swears he saw me come through in a yellow poncho, but yeah. So Black Spot, and then move on to, where are you? Where's my slideshow at? There it is. Zombie Mortuary. Okay. Zombie Mortuary. It's been around like a while. Like I would say a good like 5 or so years. This house I've obviously done every year. This was my original favorite house. Like the first couple years I went to the event. They still kind of tweaking it a little bit. They did change it a little bit. But I will admit, going through all of the houses on this particular trip for Howl-O-Scream, this was the scariest house for me. And why do you think that is?
Oh, I have no idea. I mean, it's one of those when it comes to what the website says and from the pictures, they've pretty much you're in a funeral home.
A funeral home overrun by zombies, okay? The reason why this house is scary, and this could be any house, but I went through this house completely alone. Nobody in front of me, nobody behind me. And the scare actors, they knew it because they got me. Like, I was like bouncing off stuff. I was bouncing off walls because every single scare in the entire house, it got me. And I was just like, ah. And then I looked at my watch when I got out of the house, and my express was just about up. So, me being a glutton for punishment, guess what I do?
You went through it again?
I go right back into the house, alone, and then they scare the crap out of me again.
But you knew they were coming this time.
No, they moved positions. They knew I was coming. Like, oh my god, Johnny Bronter for Hot Seats here. He's like, let's turn it up to 11. So it was really for me. If I don't do the event again, this was a really good send off because I really 5 years is a long time for Howl-O-Scream to have a house because usually they swap it out at some point. But if they do not bring back Zombie Mortuary again, that was the best send off I can possibly imagine. Like it was a perfect experience. So, you know, it's weird because I'm really judgmental about some houses. Like, you know, like even like Halloween Horror Nights. Like, yeah, you know, I kind of make some backhanded comments about The Walking Dead. They've got me in that house before, like some pretty good times. Like they know. They're like, well, John just wishes The Walking Dead would go away. You know, it's like they come after me for that. So we got some comments coming in. About time Bush did a pirate haunt. Yeah. Well, it makes sense. And then, 5 years, confirming how long it's been around. So,
oh wow.
Yeah, I mean that for a Howl-O-Scream house is a while. Usually 3 years, and then they usually kind of tweak it a little bit as time goes by. It was good. It was good. So if I don't see you again, Zombie Mortuary, goodbye. I'll do my little princess wave apparently. But yeah, it was solid. It was a solid house. So go ahead.
Now I find it more ironic that I chose today to do my makeup test for Olivia Moore from iZombie.
iZombie.
Yep.
So at this point, it's about 8:45, and normally, I go home. Normally, I'm like, all right, Howl-O-Scream. You know, you hit it hard, you hit it fast. And then you're in your car, you go home as the crowds come pouring in, even though it wasn't that busy that particular night. So, this year, I decided not to do that. Because I was so impressed as I was walking from house to house, even though I was doing it quickly, with some of the scare zones and the design of the scare zones, that I actually, for like the first time in a long time, I did a complete additional lap around the park. Now, I'm going to bring up the map again as we take a look here. And here's the map of Howl-O-Scream, and they show you where all the rides and all the houses are. I'm not really a ride person; it's all roller coasters at Howl-O-Scream. It's just not really my forte. But it's got all the numbers on here with the stars on it, where all the houses are, and all of these red areas. These are like little red strips on here. It just says "Beware" at the bottom right-hand side of the map. These are the scare zones. Now, one thing that I thought was a little interesting with the scare zones was my slideshow started over. Let me skip forward a little bit. When I went through, a couple of them actually had like names to them. Like one's called Wasteland, one's called the Playground, and some of them were just kind of themed areas. Some of them had like just characters or like they're roaming hordes around. But it was I liked it. Once it got dark outside, like really dark, which was about that time. The park is really effective. Like I guess. Maybe I haven't really kind of put in a lot of stock in their scare zones before because it's just kind of something cool as you walk through from house to house. But I was really impressed with what they did this year. Now that could be something where it could just be me and bad timing. Maybe I just went on nights where it was raining and they didn't have everything out or something like that. But I was really impressed with the scare zones at Zombie Mortuary this year. and not all of them have names, so I could just kind of describe them to you, at least the best that I remember. So let's see. My favorite one out of all of them, because this hits a soft spot with me, was called the Playground. And this right here, this effect is just a projection on the ground, creepy kid lettering, and some person being hung, whatever. And it's they have creepy little people, creepy like smaller people, and they've got like different like costumes on. You're gonna see like a creepy teddy bear and all this stuff. And it was a really cool scare zone as far as the characters go. But I didn't get a picture of this. But as you walk around, they've got all this playground equipment for kids, like a teeter totter, a slide, a tire swing, and all this stuff. And it's all painted, so it's blacklit. And to just like what I missed from Deadfall, a lot of the actual playground equipment is like moving on its own, which for whatever reason is like really creepy to me. So this is a pretty neat scare zone. Go ahead.
Oh, for me, that just it kind of reminds me of actually in Huntsville. There are a couple of creepy things and creepy legends. There's actually the Dead Child's Playground, which it's at the time, like they've done some construction stuff over there, but yet you could still hear the voices of kids and swings going. But it was actually an old playground that was like hidden right by one of the cemeteries in Huntsville.
That's disturbing and creepy.
I've actually been there before.
Oh. So, very neat. Very neat. This was the one that I walked by, and I'm like, man, scare zones they're bringing it this year. So it's pretty neat. These pictures are not in any sort of discernible order. A lot of props, a lot of photo ops. I will admit, I'm going to give a shout out. I'm going to tip my cap to you, to Howl-O-Scream, because they have photo ops like crazy. Like, things to stand in front of, people to take pictures with, signs, all kinds of stuff. The characters seem a little bit more kind of, not saying anything bad about any of the characters at Halloween Horror Nights. It's just kind of like they'll, if you happen to catch them at the right moment, you can get a good picture. Like the actual characters at Howl-O-Scream, they will give you a good picture. So I think they put a little bit more effort into that. Love these characters. But yeah. So lots of stuff to take pictures with. So here's like a cage thing with all kinds of bodies and bones in it for Howl-O-Scream. Neat. I have another slideshow of images, so I'm going to turn that one off and turn this one on. There we go. So looking to the right here, this is one of the quick pictures that I took right outside of the Unearthed house. And it's this huge, and I mean like 20-foot tall skeleton. And it's an animatronic. And it's got like glowing eyes and all this stuff and like people on his back or whatever. And I've seen this before because they have, if it's not the same exact one, they have the similar or the same exact model of animatronic right outside of the Shallow Grave.
Okay.
Which is pretty neat. And Shallow Grave doing that on Saturday. So this is pretty neat. I don't know if this is part of like the theming of the house that they changed. Sometimes I miss little story bits, but it's pretty neat. It's pretty cool. So you'll see that if you're in line. This is what you see, the last thing you see before you enter Unearthed. So you see there was that. We also have here's the Motel Shelburne sign that's outside of Motel Hell, and you can see the actual Motel Hell is lit up and everything else kind of is lit up. I thought that was a neat picture. This would be a perfect selfie picture, but I actually had to hold up the line because the line goes in front of this. So somebody was nice enough to let me snap a quick photo. So that was pretty cool. Characters, the ones that had brains to talk to you would talk to you. The ones that were like mindless zombies and mental patients or whatever would just kind of creepily stare at you, like this guy right here. Yeah. As far as interaction goes, the characters can talk to you. That's something that's a little different. I know they've got the one character, or like the chance this year at Halloween Horror Nights, that will talk to you, but they will straight up have a conversation with you. This nurse right here was talking about how she had a degree, and it was okay or something like that. Kind of made me a little uneasy, but very, very neat to talk to. So I think this was I guess I'm gonna go ahead and say if there wasn't like a themed area, I guess I'll call this like a horde, I guess, or a roaming horde. They were in the same place, but they were, pretty neat. They had like some crashed cars and bodies and stuff around, so no specific name for this, but it was in the back part of the park.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. Creepy clown with megaphone.
Oh, the clowns! I actually have a friend who is a creepy clown out in the streets.
Yeah, so that maybe this is them. So you have to wait a second for it to show up on the stream.
No, it's fine. I can't remember though if he worked on Saturday or not. When I get back, I'll have to ask Cipriano.
Gotcha. So neat, scary clown here. They do creepy clowns really good. They do creepy everything really well. Everything is creepy. Let's see what we got next. Oh, and here's like the money shot. Here's like I only have one good photo in me a year apparently because I don't have the best photographic eye. And this thing right here, this evil man-sized Teddy Ruxpin evil bear thing was like super creepy, and they had some really good type of characters like this last year. I actually ended up putting this up on Instagram. It was very cool, very cool. Like just very cool
Five Nights at Freddy ordeal.
Yeah, I played that game and it legitimately terrified me. I own them all, but I can't play them for more than 5 minutes so you get scared. And it's the first one too. But very neat, and this lady right here, they have a scare zone. I don't know if it's like Echo Lake Penitentiary or something like that. I don't know if it has a legitimate name. But this lady right here, I was having an issue with my camera, and she like stuck around long enough for me to get a decent picture. I would not go so far as to say this is like a senior citizen house gone wrong, but like everybody's like walking around like walkers and wheelchairs and all this stuff, and they've got like babies. She was trying to like make me share her baby and eat it or something. I don't know. It was a little weird. But they will talk to you and they say like really demented stuff. So that was pretty neat. And then do I have anything else? Here's one of they do have certain areas where they just have people that are specifically for photo ops. This is one of them. That picture that I took earlier with the cages, this is what's on the other side of that. So this evil bride zombie person is next to this like mannequin that's all torn apart, and she'll kind of gasp at you and point at you and take pictures and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, it's pretty neat. This has been around a little while. They have a Halloween or Howl-O-Scream sign that's like built out of like guts, and they've got a hole in the middle for you to put your face in for photo ops. This is pretty cool. At Spooky Empire a couple years ago, they actually brought this with them, so you could do photo ops at the Spooky Empire thing. Or
nice.
So it's pretty neat. Other than that, they had like a Mad Max scare zone kind of. That's called the Wasteland, and it's like your post-apocalyptic. But it was, I don't even know how to describe it. Like it was just, they had all these like bodies on like stakes that are going to be like burned or something like that. It's all this trash and all this stuff around. Very narrow scare zone. Yeah, it was really, really cool. That's in the back left-hand side of the park. That was one of the ones that only had like a specific name to it. I'm sure all these areas actually have names. I just couldn't find them anywhere. So they're not on the map. They're not on the website. Very creepy, very cool to do. I'll probably end up doing the event again. I don't get enough out of Howl-O-Scream just doing it once. I don't. You got to do it twice. So I might be going back probably mid to late October on a night. So had a really good time. Couple things that I did notice, and I did bring this up last year, is they still do not have the wait times on the outside of the house. Which didn't really affect me because I was just bam, 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 bam going through houses. But if you show up a little bit later and you don't have express, you're just kind of getting in line. and you don't really know how long you're going to be there, so it's hard to kind of plan around things.
Mm-hmm.
I actually had a friend in the park and missed meeting up with him, and because I didn't know where he was. Like I don't know how long he's going to be in line for whatever, and we just kind of lost communication. So yeah. Another thing I noticed, and this is something that I had noticed a couple years ago, and I didn't think anything of it. And then last year, they had the Unearthed character, the Scarlet's Revenge, and the theme of the event was tied into a specific house. This year, as you can see on the right of this screen, there's like an evil puppet-looking person. I know the guy's like Carver or something like that. Like he makes these like lifelike dolls. And if you look on the website, there's all these like creepy dolls, and it's kind of got this like really kind of washed out brown kind of look to everything. That's kind of like the theme of the event this year. But there's no like house that ties to this. And I don't. It's just something that Howl-O-Scream does. It has like their theme of the event, but it's not necessarily tied to a specific experience. So I like it. It's cool. But I'm not really, like, I need to connect the dots, I think, mentally for me. But, it's cool. A couple years ago, they had Cursed. Do you remember Cursed?
I do, actually.
It was like the Blue Note, and if you heard the song, you were going to die. It was kind of like the Spotify version of The Ring, apparently. So you hear a song and you die, and it was really cool, like the branding of everything. It just wasn't tied to a specific experience in the house. They had a shop for like the merchandise that had like the theme of that in there. It was kind of tied together, but it just it just doesn't connect. Like I love Howl-O-Scream. I'm gonna do it every single year. It's just I wish they had more like Unearthed where it was like tied into I want to walk into the commercial is basically what I was thinking. And I thought like maybe this would be like Motel Hell or something like that, but not necessarily. So hope I didn't spoil too much for you guys if you're planning on doing Howl-O-Scream. It's well worth every penny. Tickets, I was looking at them, they're cost effective. I mean, you can go and get a pass and a Fright Feast. I think for most nights it's like under $100 for both. Their express is somewhat reasonable. A little more cost effective than like Halloween Horror Nights. Just it is. So yeah. What else?
Well, my question is with the Fright Feast and the express that comes with it, does that only include the houses, or does it also include the attractions as well?
It includes the houses.
Okay, so the houses only.
Well, I could be wrong on that. I could be wrong. I'd have to look, but I only use it for the houses, so maybe it's just for the houses.
Okay.
So maybe somebody in the Fallout. Yeah, Fallout is a good... Evil Fallout is a good description of that wasteland scare zone. Yeah, there we go. I like that.
Okay.
I don't know. I'd have to look. Let me look real quick because I'm actually curious about that.
Yeah, because when you're describing how you only have express for a limited time, I was wondering if it was just for the houses or if it included the attraction, because we all know with Cobra's Curse being new, a lot of people who enjoy roller coasters, like myself, would love to ride it.
I know that they have express passes that have express for the houses and the rides, but I could probably confirm this a little bit later.
Okay.
And somebody tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm getting a confirmation in the chat that it's only for the houses. So
okay.
But yeah, it's I would probably get through all the houses first and then start doing rides, or buy the express that includes the rides.
So the front of line or front line Fear Extreme?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the one that includes the houses and the rides as well. Fairly good deal if you're into roller coasters. It's Busch Gardens, so you're there during the day. I saw cheetahs running around. I saw some elephants running around. I smelled the elephants. I mean, it's immersion. It's getting you ready for the park. So it's a good time. I love Howl-O-Scream, and they have like a they have deals where you can get like a 2-night pass or something like that, but they don't have like a season-long pass.
Okay.
Which might make me want to go a little bit more, but it's a good time. A lot of people compare this to like a Halloween Horror Nights. It is apples and oranges. They're almost incompatible. They're on paper they're the same thing, but when you show up, they're different experiences. You get different things out of it. So if you've never been, you don't have to make a choice. Like somebody's like, I'm only going to go to Halloween Horror Nights because I'm loyal to Halloween Horror Nights. You're missing out. You're selling yourself short. Go out and do something different. There are, and we're going to get into this over the next month or so. We're going to start doing some kick-ass haunts that have nothing to do with theme parks at all, and they're cheaper. They put more effort into them. They're actually made with love, and it's just we're going to start seeing a little difference, in a little shift in the show going forward because next week we're going to be doing the Shallow Grave. Well, not next week. We're doing this on Saturday. So I can't wait to talk about this because this is, as far as I was concerned last year, and I know it hasn't changed, this is like a must-do attraction if you want to do haunts in Central Florida. Go to the Shallow Grave, and we'll do it, and we'll talk about it here because they do kind of tweak it every year. And it's like legit scary. It's they can touch you. It's a little different. The tickets are always hilarious. So we'll go over that. Yeah, next week. 8:53. What else? Because I know you had some questions about Howl-O-Scream.
Well, and I know too, with every event, there's always merchandise opportunities. Ooh. And I'm curious to see, how does the merchandise here compare to typical merchandise that you can find, like during the day? Like, do they have special lanyards? Do they have like special figurines that are only available during that event?
They don't have a diverse selection of merch like let's say a Halloween Horror Nights does. Usually, and I was a little bummed about this. Normally, they have a house shirt. It has the theme of the event on the front, and on the back it has the houses. For whatever reason, I just don't get that. I don't know why. I'm more into I want like something specific. Like I buy the coffee mugs. Like I bought the Cursed coffee mug, I bought the Unearthed coffee mug, and I went into the thing this year, into the shop, and I was like, hey, where's the Howl-O-Scream Evil Encore coffee mug? And they're like, we didn't make one this year, and I'm like, what? I'm sad.
Interesting.
So I didn't buy a house shirt, but I did find a really cool shirt, and it's actually not like horribly expensive. They just have a general Howl-O-Scream shirt, so I can just kind of rep this anywhere. So pretty neat. But this is the only thing I really bought. Now, they do have themed merchandise, but they also have just kind of like general, like kind of like haunt stuff. Like it's not specific to the event. So, if you're into that kind of thing, they have got stuff that's not tied to Howl-O-Scream. So, when you go check it out, it's pretty neat. But yeah, it was cool. I'm sick. I want an evil Encore coffee mug. It broke my heart. And then when they didn't have a coffee mug, that's when I decided to go home because they didn't have a coffee mug.
And you were also talking about how Howl-O-Scream has a lot more photo opportunities. Now, besides just different areas in the scare zone, did they have anything towards the front of the park? Did they have like a shop set aside to where you can go get, special photos done with some of the different entertainment? Or
they have like little areas where they have like characters. Usually it's like, I'm gonna go ahead and say it, like hot chicks that you can take a picture with, and they've got a photographer there. And I think they do, I don't know if I didn't try this and I didn't stay there long enough, but they either give you a card to go buy the photo. I don't know if you could take your own photos with like your cell phone or camera if you have it. Because they're trying to sell you something. But other than that, they've got all kinds of things to stand in front of and take pictures, and the characters and all that stuff. As I said, I find their streets a little bit more interactive for the most part. I love all characters. I love all of you. You're all amazing. But I think that different parks are instructed to interact with guests different ways. It is what it is. Depends on the person. But there's all kinds of things. Make sure you charge your camera. But there are things to take pictures of. It's pretty neat.
Okay. And now also, I know with Halloween Horror Nights, a lot of times, since even though there is no child ticket, there is children who come to the event. Now, is that the case for Howl-O-Scream, or is it a certain age restriction where if you're under a certain age, you're not allowed in at all, even if you purchase an adult ticket for them?
That is a good question. I think it's just like the recommended age is probably like 13. I'm sure it's on the website, but they don't like cut anybody off. I am pretty sure that I saw somebody pushing a stroller with a toddler in it. So, okay.
See, well, hey, knowing Draco, he'd be running around after him, but that's just because he likes to run everywhere now.
Yeah, so I don't think there is. I mean, if you go to howlscream.com, for whatever reason isn't coming up on my computer right now, you can get the specific info there. But yeah, I can only kind of go on what I noticed, I guess.
Okay, so while you were there wasn't that many, strollers or
there were not
individuals
that many
under,
kids.
say, 13?
There weren't that many, like, young kids. We're talking, like, kids that are around 10, 11, 12, 13. Though that's kind of the demographic I think I saw as far as in the park. Yeah. This event's not for, like, the youngins. It's not Mickey's Not So Scary. Candy
now, another question I have is because we all know how utilizing mobile apps are a thing. Now, we all know that Busch Gardens has its own mobile app. Does it transform into stuff that's more specific for Howl-O-Scream during the event?
I have no idea. They have an app? I want to install their app. I probably could have gotten a little bit more out of the event. I'm going to look right now.
Well, because I know Busch Gardens has a mobile app, just like, Disney has its own app. I believe SeaWorld has its own app. Universal has its own app. So I'm just curious if it had something more specific, but since you didn't use it, if someone out there knows, please feel free to share that information, because I'm very curious.
Busch Gardens, Tampa. Yeah, that's funny you say that, because I know that even the Universal app has the wait time for the houses and all that stuff. Maybe maybe they've just gone straight technology, and the only way you can get wait times is if you install the app. I don't know. I didn't even know there was an app. Sorry, Howl-O-Scream, if you're watching. Make it a little bit more prominent. I'm only human.
I told you I had some really good questions to ask.
They're really hard hitting questions. But yeah, what you should have told me was, hey, John, were you prepared to go to the event? Did you do your research at all? No, I did not. I just show up and have fun. So,
see how important doing your research is before any event?
God, next year when I go to Howl-O-Scream, I'm going to study up. Do this test again. God. Alright, so it's 8:59. Wow, that was a very quick hour.
Oh, yeah, it was.
I was I got through the houses and I looked at it was 8:30. I'm like, oh god. I always have that thing where I'm like, oh my god, I don't want to go over. So as I said, next week we're going to be covering the Shallow Grave in Winter Haven, Florida. Look it up, theshallowgrave.com. You can see the billboards up and down on I-4 in the Polk County area. Awesome haunt, great people. Really took care of us last year, so really looking forward to that. And what are you doing on Saturday, Kira?
Possibly going if I have enough money.
All right, well, we'll work it out. But yeah,
I mean, I am selling a few things on my online store, and stuff like that. So yeah.
Maybe. But we'll make it happen. We'll go, because I would like you to experience this, because it's unlike anything else in Central Florida that I've done up to this point. So if you, leading into next week, do your homework, audience. Go do the Shallow Grave. It opens up this weekend, so it's the weekend, and it goes through the first week in November, which is really cool. I'm so happy that things like the Shallow Grave and I believe some other haunts are actually going the week after Halloween this year, because when I get through my post-Halloween depression, I'll still have another week of haunts to do, so that'd be pretty cool. But we'll have a whole bunch of information about that one next week. Yeah. They don't have scare zones. It's not a theme park. It's a little different, so we're going to be changing gears, so we're going to have to kind of, figure out what to talk about for an hour. But hey, we'll make it happen.
Hey, gotta do what you gotta do.
All right, so it's 9:01, so we're gonna roll out of here. Everybody, thank you for watching. I appreciate you. Make sure you guys comment, Facebook, Twitter, look up HauntScene wherever it is. Until next week, when we are back on Tuesday at 8 o'clock p.m. EST. You have a good night and spook easy.
Happy haunting.